Hi everyone, Jared here. Time for the market video update. Hope you all had a great weekend and a good Sunday night. We had some good movement in the markets. Several of the levels from the video yesterday really played out nicely, and we saw some good movement in there. So we're going to talk about that and review some of those and look at some of the next upcoming setups we should have in the, kind of in the next several hours or so. Quick look at everything. We've seen that the equities in the U.S. have been super strong. We saw a pretty strong Black Friday and kind of shopping holiday weekend, and that has really played out in the stocks today. Dow up about 300 points, just about. It's kind of hovering in this almost 300 point area. S&P 32 points. Good grief. Gold is up a huge chunk, and oil's up a huge chunk. Now remember, we talked about in the video yesterday, we didn't really know what the Dow or the S&P were going to do, but we did see that gold was starting to make a little bit of a run, and we talked about if that made a rally, then that would really help the cause on our euro dollar, pound dollar pairs that we talked about, and that was definitely the case. So that's what happened. We did see a couple of announcements today. Inflation report for the UK, and then we saw that we had new home sales for the US, which came out just a little bit worse than expected and was also revised a little worse than expected. So home sales are still having a problem in the US. Coming up tonight, we have the nationwide HPI for the UK, and then coming into tomorrow morning, that's all the UK news we have. And then coming into tomorrow morning, we have consumer confidence, which is a decently important one, and then we have a little bit of Australian and New Zealand news afterwards. Here's something interesting to look at. The dollar index chart. I'm on the daily chart here, so we're looking at basically a solid year right here of movement. The dollar index really took a big dive from about January till May of last year, just steadily headed down, and then all summer long it channeled, really just kind of channeled, but in that channeling found a lot of support kind of in the 73, 74 area right here, really hung in there strong, and then has started to take off since September, started making these runs, some big retracements, and it's running back up again. So it looks like to me that the dollar index may be bottoming out just a little bit and ready to start heading back up for a little while. We see that there's really a big range here, about 72 on the bottom and about 90 on the top. And as you can see, the dollar index is about 79 currently, just shy of the 80 mark. So it's really in the lower half of this big range that the dollar index has been in. So there's really lots of room for this to kind of make its way towards the top, and I'm very, very much keeping an eye on that, and I think that we will see a lot of that happening. Okay, so here's a little bit of what we talked about yesterday. We talked about 33.25 breaking on the euro dollar, and that's where I've got that level marked right there. And that broke like crazy, broke about 65, 70 pips, made a nice little run up and kind of double topped on that gap. Now remember, we talked about the gap yesterday. This is our moving average right here, that the market, when it's in a longer term trend, can very much kind of respond to and bounce off of and so on. And we see that the euro really kind of ran up to this gap, bounced on it a little bit, and it's headed right back down again. The same thing happened on several other pairs, but this is a very, very good retracement zone right here. So probably I would say the next goals here, we talked yesterday about this retracement, kind of this little upward movement, and that happened nicely. It wasn't a very big one, 70 or so pips, pretty decent size, but nothing huge. It bounces off that gap, and it's right back down to a possible trendline breakout and a 1 hour crossover right here. This is all looking pretty decent for some selling opportunities. And so what I'm going to be looking for here is for the euro to come down and trade through these lows and fill in this empty space right here. Now this is a different kind of a gap. We're talking about the gap indicator here, but this is just the gap of the market opening higher than where it closed and leaving that big empty area. So I'm looking for this euro to actually break out, give us a nice little breakout, close that gap, and work its way right back on down to 32.20 once again, right back down here to 32.20. Now we do have a little bit of interesting news. Things are looking slightly more positive on the eurozone side of things, but I would really be surprised if we saw a lot of really big turnarounds in the euro itself. So again, what we talked about yesterday is this big double bottom right here, and that could really strongly hold and cause a big bounce back up. But I think at least in the short term, I think coming into today, I'm not looking for anything long term on this movement right here. I'm just looking for the short term, like over the next 12 hours. I think the euro is going to come down and probably double bottom on this 3200 area. So we're going to be looking to trade the euro down into that area, and then we'll probably have some continued upside. So look for this breakout right here. You can see that it's right around that about 3310, 3300 area, and that should bring this euro down nicely. Now, same thing on the pound dollar. We talked about the pound dollar breaking as well. We even had a pending order set here for about 55.25. Grabbed a couple of pips on that upside movement. And so that worked out well. But now the pound did the exact same thing as well, kind of breaking these daily highs here, this 55.10, which we talked about in the video, and this ran up nicely, did the exact same thing, kind of bounced on that gap. Remember, I talked about in the video making it up to the 23 at least, and it touched that and went past it by about 1 pip. And now here it is all the way back down again. So nice little bouncing point. I think that the pound is probably going to try to give us a little bit of a test of this 54.30 area once again as well. So I think we've got a good little short-term sell opportunity to just fill in this area, come down and then take this pair down and kind of hop along those bottom areas. So we're going to be looking for that. I think that'll be a really great opportunity as well. Didn't quite fill in that 4-hour crossover, just kind of ran up and it's coming right back down again. So I think that's going to give us a good little selling opportunity. Remember, we talked about this yesterday as well, that this is going to be that very, very possible strong support area, which it's definitely been so far. So there's a little bit more room to go, though. The pound could really make it down into that 153.50-ish area, which I think it just might do before continuing back up. Now, it's run down pretty good here, and it's definitely looking for a little bit of retracement. But I think like the euro, we're going to get a little bit of a kind of double, triple bottom here, and then we'll be able to take this pair back up. So that's what we're going to be looking for on that one. Euro yen kind of has run up and made some decent movements here. I'm just not loving what the euro yen's doing so much. It's moving, but it's kind of choppy and kind of doing a bunch of stuff. So we'll keep our eye on it, but I don't really have a good feel for what I think this pair should be doing for the moment. We've got kind of a complicated situation here where there's our 4-hour gap. There's definitely some strong resistance here, about 104.35. If it breaks that, fine. That should be a good movement up, but this 4-hour gap right there is going to be a tough level to get past as well. So we'll just kind of keep our eyes on that one. Same thing. Now remember with the pound yen yesterday, we talked about this 4-hour crossover in this 120.45 if that broke. And that broke, and this thing ran up a good 100 and plus pips. Made a nice little run there. But I think this pound yen's going to start to come back down as well. So I'm going to start looking for kind of trendline breakouts and 1-hour crossovers on this one to start selling this pair as well. We want to sell, sell on the rally here. I think a lot of these pairs are going to continue to come down. Same thing on the Aussie dollar. I don't see a really great entry on the Aussie dollar just yet. Like I talked about in the video and the email yesterday, really focusing on the euro dollar, pound dollar these first couple of days of this week to get some movement out of that. But I think this Aussie is going to do, some similar things and kind of fill in this gap. So just kind of watch for this Aussie. Look for some consolidation. We have a little bit of Australian news kind of today, tomorrow. Look for some consolidation, and let's try to trade this guy back down into these lows of about 96.80. And I'll probably have a more specific entry on that one this afternoon. Gold made that big run right there. Nothing too terribly exciting on gold. This one is probably, it looks like it's kind of run into some retracement, and it will probably be able to continue down, but we'll just see how that goes. I would be kind of surprised if gold didn't continue down. Breaking this 17 kind of 01 area, crossing over, getting back below this resistance, I think is going to be a very nice move and a good little run down. So again, the big focus is I think will be on the euro dollar and the pound dollar as we go into today. So very best of luck, everyone. We'll see you in the chat, and good luck.